Welcome back, Billy.
Thanks for having me back.
Man, like last time we talked to you, we talked a little about this movie, but it was almost conceptually. I think last time I was just like, is this just a movie about Alex Rodriguez doing steroids? Because we didn't know anything about it. But like, I was telling Travis that I watched it without knowing really. I mean, I knew baseball players did steroids, but I didn't know the story. And it is unbelievable. Like, has the documentary been optioned to be a movie yet? Because it's Fargo level insanity.
It should be like a cartoon.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yes.
An animated movie.
Yes, it's so weird.
It's bizarre. That's the thing is that, like, we've been making documentaries for almost 20 years, and
mainly about Florida.
Primarily about Florida, because why not? Because Florida. Really.
Yeah, it's a really good source.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rich with content.
Rich with material.
Yeah. And so, but this is the most meticulously researched project we've ever done, because we're dealing with some pretty litigious and wealthy people here in Alex Rodriguez in Major League Baseball. And so we wanted to make sure we were very careful about everything we said.
Everything was vetted by a...
Absolutely. But
Couple of lawyers,
it's also absolutely ridiculous.
Insane.
It doesn't make any sense. It's totally stupid. Nobody's motivations make sense. But it's all true. And you wouldn't believe it if it weren't.
So when you do something like this, like at what point were there things in there that a lawyer said no, we can't have it, even though we think it's true, we can't prove it? Were there certain things they made you take out?
Not anything that I wanted to put in per se. There were certain places where some of the characters were commentating. For example, they offered the steroid doctor. I'm sorry, air quotes, doctor.
Who I would call him a fake doctor, but he makes it plain that just because he doesn't have a medical license that's valid in the United States does not make him a fake doctor.
We actually, it's one of the longest takes in any documentary that I've ever made, because our stuff, like Cocaine Cowboys, is pretty renowned for its fast cutting. So this is the longest shot I've ever left in a documentary. It's him, Tony Bosch, describing the distinction without a difference between a fake doctor and an unlicensed physician.
Okay.
Because he takes offense to it.
Sure, as
when
you
I
should.
when I saw him, so there's photos.
He's a man of science. He knows how to argue.
That's right.
There's photos in real life. Like before this documentary was a documentary, there were already photos out there of his medical jacket that said Dr. Tony, whatever his name is.
Tony Bosch, yeah.
Tony Bosch. Dr. Tony Bosch.
He's like Dr. Nick from The Simpsons.
Right.
Yes,
Or
where
Dr.
Elvis
Pepper.
is Dr. Nick.
So I'm sitting there going, he's clearly like this happened for real. He's not going to be able to say I didn't say I was a doctor. So when I sat there, when I realized that that's what this shot was, him explaining why he's not a fake doctor and he's actually offended that people said he was, because he does not have a medical license. And he called himself doctor.
Yes.
But he had a full explanation for it, and I said, you know what, Tony? I'm with you.
Now,
I'm with you, Dr. T.
Does A-Rod support this documentary?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Him
I'll put
and
it this
J-Lo
way.
are going to be at the premiere.
Not expecting the invitation to the wedding. No. I'll tell you that right now. Actually, it's funny. So our distributor, Greenwich Entertainment, they released Free Solo that won the Oscar for Best Documentary this year. They put out the trailer a couple weeks ago and started to gain a little traction. People were talking about it. People dug it. And the very next day, Instagram, A-Rod on one knee proposing to J-Lo. I wanted to text A-Rod's publicist, who I know, and go, well played, bro. Well played.
Let me ask you, did you tell us, because I saw part of the documentary, the kids in it was so smart, and it was such an interesting way to tell a story. Did you tell us you were going to do that? Because I'm like, I think...
Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, we did? Okay.
A little bit.
The reenactments,
you might have,
all the reenactments are done with kids.
Yeah.
And and I'll tell you, when I first turned on the movie, I was like, I don't know if I need this. This is kind of dumb.
Well, you realize that these are probably kids, that they don't. That the adults are probably older.
That was my hiccup. Yeah, I didn't quite. Yeah,
It's great to be inside Jim's process of suspending
Jim
disbelief.
should do the commentary with me on the Blu-ray.
I'm
sure they verify everything.
Now, in real life, these were adults.
Yeah, they were older.
In real life, they were actually over 18 when this was happening.
that mustache is fake. Nobody that age can grow one. I don't think.
Puberty brings facial hair, and they're.
I was watching and I'm going like, why do you need this? And then when the story starts to get as silly and ridiculous as it gets, I went, this is perfect. This is the perfect way to tell the story, because it doesn't make sense that adults would behave in this way.
It doesn't. Thank you. And when we make sports documentaries, we did The U, for example.
Which was fucking awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Love The U.
Thanks so much. That's awesome.
That team was crazy.
They were crazy.
Yeah,
And
you did too.
I put up The U Part 2. Yeah, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
It's just, and why not? What I say? I might not be a one-hit wonder, but I might be a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
That's totally possible. But
put you in Florida and let you just go to town.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
Well, listen, sports docs are pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't want to belittle anyone's angst. Docs are hard to make, but sports docs are kind of paint by numbers.
I love your movies.
Thanks.
The only thing that's ever taken me out of your movie is in Cocaine Cowboys, one of the first interviews where they're explaining the plane. Who's the blonde guy with
Mickey
Barry
Monday the
Seal.
Barry Seal.
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, but when Mickey's giving the interview, I was like, I love the movie. I love Cocaine Cowboys. But he's talking, and then he moves, and you see he has a ponytail, and I was like, oh, fuck all this. It just took me out immediately. He moved his head, and I was like, oh, this. I wrote a fucking joke about it. It's like in my stand-up act because I was like, have you ever had a conversation with a guy, then realized he had a ponytail? It throws you off because he moved his head. And I was like, "Oh fuck, this dude's got a ponytail."
Yeah, it's
but
real long.
love Cocaine
Real
Cowboys.
long hair. Actually. Yeah, he's in federal prison now.
But the way it looked, it was like with your interview, it was like fucking back, you know?
Yeah,
so
you couldn't tell.
He looked slick. He looked like a bad guy from a Die Hard movie. And then he turned his head, and I was like,
So
fucking.
So Screwball, it followed for people who don't know, and we're just kind of talking in pieces.
Yeah.
Screwball, like the story is that there was this guy who wasn't an actual doctor, but he'd gone to medical school outside of the country.
Unlicensed physician.
He was an unlicensed physician, I believe. Yeah, that's how it was.
Jim's sticking up for him.
Yeah.
He's like, Tony's a good guy.
Absolutely.
One of the interview subjects refers to the school he went to as the Belize School of the Medical and Performing Arts.
Hilarious.
But he starts this business in Florida that's supposed to be like to youth, to keep your youth when you get older.
Anti-aging
clinic.
Yeah.
But realistically,
you hand your gun.
We're going to give you the end it all treatment.
Yeah, seriously, you don't age.
Yeah.
realistically, he's dealing steroids, and he's connected with all these like shady Florida drug dealers and criminals and
questionable characters.
Questionable characters, and just an insane array of people around him. Each one of them deserves their own documentary. But it talks about how he ends up in connection with these baseball players, and then how the Major League Baseball ends up being just as crazy as the rest of them, and how stupid the whole thing got. But what stopped me in my tracks was Porter Fisher may be, and I don't know if you got that far, Jim, but Porter Fisher may be the greatest character in cinematic history. Porter Fisher is this guy. He's the one who really blew the lid off the whole thing.
The whistleblower.
He's the whistleblower.
Did he do it on purpose or by mistake?
He did it on purpose, but it was because the good Dr. Tony owed him $4,000 and wouldn't pay him the $4,000.
I like a guy that'll turn over for $4,000.
So
isn't it crazy how people fuck themselves for such a minuscule amount of money?
So he ended up, but he ended up not making any money off of any of it. Everybody around him, he stole all this evidence. Mm-hmm. Everybody around him found out about it, and by the way, everybody around him is criminals.
Is that, by the way, when the opening scene of the thing, the car is?
Yeah.
That's
they are stealing the stolen evidence.
Yes,
so that they can sell it not to the highest bidder, but to every bidder and
all
to anyone
bidders
who will pay anything for it, because he's surrounded by these, just by virtue of being in Miami and hanging out at 24-hour tanning salons.
That's what he does.
As you do.
And he goes like this. Well, I hung out at the tanning salon all the time because, I enjoy it. I enjoy tanning. That's what I do. I'm a professional tanner.
But in Miami, you don't have to. The fucking sun's out.
That was brought up.
We discussed it. We have more sunshine per year than any state in the union, and yet this proliferation of fake tanning salons. It's credible.
What immediately would stop me from hanging out with someone is if they're like, I'm into tanning.
That's what he says.
And I'd be like, well, we are not going to be friends.
Are you from Anchorage? No, go fuck yourself.
Are you from Florida? You're a real fucking cooked idiot.
Wait till he turns his head and his ponytail.
I'll chop it off. I'll rip it off.
Now, is A-Rod, you wonder when this is happening, does A-Rod know that all this craziness is happening? And is he fucking panicking like there's no, it's like whack-a-mole with information?
Oh, yeah, well, A-Rod and Major League Baseball were it was like Keystone Cops on the ground in Miami. And they were throwing both sides millions of dollars. This became a whole cottage industry in Miami for PIs and private investigators and attorneys, and then these felons who could steal documents. And they were selling the stolen medical records to MLB for $125,000 cash.
Jesus.
To a convicted felon in a diner in Miami or in South Florida. And then the same felons are video recording the transaction so they can sell the video to A-Rod of them selling, like MLB's got a slush fund and running around with like duffel bags of cash. And then they sell A-Rod a blank hard drive
What?
It's so.
They
Wow.
And by the way,
And
I wonder if Barry Bonds is watching this just laughing.
Jose
He's like,
Canseco certainly is.
Yeah.
Oh
really?
yeah, he's not too happy with A-Rod for some reason.
Dude, that's the other
He's a
thing.
bit of a blabbermouth, Jose.
Yeah, Jose, relax.
Another Florida man.
Why? Jose
Canseco.
Canseco just goes.
He was just saying that A-Rod was banging. Like he said, A-Rod was trying to fuck his Jose's ex-wife. I don't know if it's true or not, but he went right out there and said it right about the to fuck up the engagement. Jose doesn't keep things under his hat.
I like it.
But so Porter Fisher, he's sitting there like he's in the tanning salon. He meets Dr. Tony there. He just hangs out. He literally hangs out at the tanning
What
salon.
was Dr. Tony doing? Getting a base, or was he going for a real?
Well, he likes
cook?
to tan. Dr. Tony likes to tan. He loves doing cocaine, and he has no problem talking about it.
Oh my
loves
God.
cocaine.
The amount of fake tits that have been in that man's face.
Oh, tons of them. But he loves cocaine and tanning, and that's where he meets Porter. But he knows that Porter is kind of a doofus, and unfortunately, Porter is portrayed as a bit of a doofus in the film. But I think he does that himself.
He's very earnest. Like,
He's very
just-
earnest.
That's who he is.
But so Dr. Tony ends up opening one of these age centers right by the tanning salon there. So Porter is now friends with Dr. Tony, and they say he just starts hanging out in the lobby
Yes.
all day, every day. And you
Yeah.
realize that this is what Porter does. He just hangs out in a spot.
Is Porter mentally retarded?
I don't think so.
Because there's a guy in the East Village who just hangs out in this pharmacy, and I think they're kind of like, he's just a nice
He
guy.
just hangs out.
Yeah.
Porter gets hit by a car.
Or, I mean,
The insurance settlement, he gets an insurance settlement for it. Then Dr. Tony finds out about it. All of a sudden, Dr. Tony is friends with him. Dr. Tony says, if you give me the $4,000, you can do my marketing, and then I'll pay you back $4,800 over the course of 4 weeks.
and Dr. T puts that money directly up his nose.
And he goes, and then Dr. T's, he's making his explanations for it. He's like, look, I was running out of money. I got a very expensive lifestyle. You know, I got 2 apartments, 2 rents.
Child support, yeah.
Child support. And then all my cocaine.
Well, he estimates like $5 to $6 grand a month on cocaine.
on
He was spending.
cocaine.
he refers to it as his cocaine bill, as if one receives
Right.
a monthly
Yeah,
bill.
like Con Ed, once in a while he'll get a clean energy option.
you go, Dr. T, do you want to go paperless with your Coke bill? We can just email you your Coke bill.
So, it's autopay.
Yeah.
It's autopay. It's easy.
He goes, you know what? With
What's
my
the
new
routing number?
with my new Chase app, Chase takes care of my cocaine bill monthly.
It's like Movie Pass, but for cocaine. So,
Oh man, all these leathered skinned fucking yacked up dudes.
Porter accepts the deal. He goes, "That actually sounds like a great deal. I'll give you the $4,000," and he hands it to him. Of course, because of cocaine and other reasons, Dr. Tony decides against paying Porter back. He goes, "I'm not gonna."
Couldn't
pay
he
you
have gotten
back.
the money from A-Rod? If he said, look, this guy's about to blab, give me the money, wouldn't A-Rod have handed him $5 grand?
The problem is it's too late. This whole thing explodes
Yes.
in like 4 weeks. This guy, Porter, is on a short fuse, let's say.
He's all
and-
jacked up on yak, and
and
he's just
he
walking around. He's like, dude, I'll talk to anybody.
He's a lot of impulse on this guy.
Yeah.
You
and-
guys want to talk?
and that's where this all comes to. First of all, you described it so beautifully. It's to the point where I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's fucked. That doesn't make any sense. Like,
Right.
that's bizarre.
Such a great story.
Yeah, and it's like a Coen Brothers movie. It's
Yes.
just like these like misguided like
Everybody
nitwits,
makes
like,
the wrong decision. None
everybody.
of it makes sense.
None of it
Why would
makes
you do
sense.
this? And then Porter's got all this evidence that's very, very valuable. MLB's trying to buy it. You know, there's obviously A-Rod's people are trying to buy it. Everybody's trying to buy it. He doesn't know who to sell it to, so he picks nobody. He's not selling it to anybody. He's like, no. They're calling him. They're like, we'll give you $125,000 for it. He goes, no, I'm not doing
He
that.
goes, I've bonded with the information.
Yeah, because he's worried about getting killed, so he's not selling it. He's just going to keep it because why? Because if you're going to kill him, you're definitely going to kill him if he's still got the evidence. I don't know where. So he doesn't. So he doesn't do anything except he tells his criminal friends that he's got all this very valuable evidence.
that everybody wants to buy.
So then his criminal friends go, oh, come to the tanning salon. And while he's in the tanning salon, they take all of the evidence out of his car.
No, like literally, he's getting a spray tan, and they're robbing the records from his car.
Yeah.
And then they sell it all. And
me-
that's
everybody.
That's how everybody found out about the steroids, because they just go, all this stolen evidence is for sale.
Because he had it in his car.
And Major League Baseball and all the other organizations, they don't care. They're like, stolen evidence? Yeah, we'll purchase that.
So, perspective: the career of the highest paid baseball player in history
Yes.
effectively ended over a $4,000 debt between a cocaine-addicted fake doctor and his fake tanning-addicted steroid patient.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's just awesome that he was just getting that fucking spray tan, and he's like,
Whole
nothing's
thing's
going
going up in
wrong.
smoke.
Yeah, he's like,
But I tell you why.
He felt good. He did. He was
like,
in heaven.
oh, I'm gonna look so golden, and
Yeah.
crisp.
And then, by the way, the only people he told about it were his criminal friends, and they're like, "Well, what about the people you told about it?" He goes, "No, that doesn't make any sense. They couldn't have done it."
Did you tell your friends that have
Couldn't have been them.
that have a criminal history? He goes, "What's up?
Wouldn't no.
What did I do? What? Did you tell your friends?" He goes, "Yeah. Why wouldn't? What's up with that?"
My friends, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they're good guys. I was getting a tan. They watched my car. They told me they're driving around because there's no parking.
But Jim, you asked if A-Rod was nervous. The reason he met the doctor, Manny Ramirez was the first guy, right?
Manny Ramirez was the first guy that got busted. Yeah.
Yeah, so Manny Ramirez gets busted, but before he got busted, he was a hell of a player.
Yep.
A-Rod, according to this documentary, I believe you, Billy, he goes to the doctor and says, whatever you're giving Manny Ramirez, just give that to me.
Yeah, I want what Manny was having.
It seems careless.
Seems so, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, when you're at that point in your career, Alex was definitely towards the end of his career, and your body is your fortune, and you're just trying to do everything you can to reverse the...
How bad is that stuff for you physically? Is it really that bad physically, or is it just cheating?
They were taking primarily what Bosch was doing was the testosterone and human growth hormone. So it's not like the same shit that like the baseball beasts, you know, the Hulks of the 90s were using. Like they were using that Arnold Schwarzenegger shit, you know.
Yeah.
But this is, if you went to a legitimate doctor, they could prescribe you this stuff.
But it's illegal in baseball.
It's right, exactly. It's so when they say illegal or banned substance, they mean contractually between the players and the
and baseball, sure. Yeah. But I mean, it's not because a lot of guys I know do testosterone, like ex-fighters, and they swear by it, and they go, "No, it's not bad for you. It's gotten a bad rap. It's not going to hurt you."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, listen, it's something we naturally produce, and as you get older, you produce less of it. And if you're trying to reverse those aging effects, it's something that you do, and a lot of people do it, and that's why the anti-aging clinics. The problem is, it's like everything else in Florida, it's like this gray market economy. You know, it's not.
You gotta love Florida for that. You gotta love Florida that it really takes it back to the old West. A fucking snake oil salesman.
The apothecary.
Yeah.
You own the most successful fucking football team in history, and you still got to get jerked off for 100.
Of course you do. I love it. It's a throwback. Florida's a throwback
Florida
state.
rules.
You know, the Patriots always draining balls.
What was the statistic about Florida and fraud? It was some kind of there's some kind of statistic in the movie that Florida fraud makes up a huge percentage of Florida's economy.
We are the Medicare fraud capital of the country. Yes. We in Miami-Dade County alone, in Medicare and Medicaid payments, this is mostly elderly people. You know, abuelitos y abuelitas. They receive the most amount of money in AIDS and HIV medication payments than the rest of the country combined, which presumes essentially that 100% of the elderly population in Miami-Dade are HIV positive, which of course is not
fucking. They are just hard fucking.
True.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we have one of the highest rates of STDs, particularly in our elderly population.
You got
because
that too.
Florida.
Yeah.
But like, it's not possible. They got penis pumps for female patients that they're billing for. It's Medicare fraud is a whole industry.
By the way, Florida, you always have a weird feeling when you're there. Like whenever I'm in Florida, I feel like I've walked onto the set of a movie, and they're all making a movie about me. Meaning that I don't know what all of them know.
You're the outsider.
I feel like there's
does.
something like the reveal is going to be they're all in on it. It's a weird feel. It's like Long Island in that way.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. My producing partner Alfred Spellman, he describes it as. Do you remember the movie Breakdown with Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it.
Never saw that. You ever see Escape from New York?
He's
guy who gets off the conversation for no reason.
You go, but how good's Backdraft?
Dude, amazing. Remember the scar on De Niro's back in that? You were shocked. I can't believe it. He got burned. I get it.
Oh, man, firefighters are heroes.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn. Hot. Absolutely. Remember 9/11. So what do you say?
Don't forget. Jesus Guys, let's do a moment of silence. For
Absolutely. There's no laughing time now. Let's be serious up.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
In Breakdown, Kurt Russell and his wife are like driving across the country to a new job or something, and they stop in this like truck stop kind of town with the sheriff and with the gas station and a bunch of shady like deliverance type dudes. And the wife disappears while they're at the gas station, and she's been kidnapped, and they want a ransom. And what slowly turns out...
That's like CB radio, where that's where all the clues were coming from.
And spoiler alert, but the movie's like 25 years old, so if you haven't seen it yet, it turns out that like everybody in this town is in on it. This is their hustle. That when like what they perceive as like rich people come driving through town, they kidnap someone. That's Florida. So
everyone's
we're
on
a
the
hustle
hustle.
state.
Yes.
We don't have a real industry. And Carl Hyacin says all we produce in Florida is oranges and machine guns. Like we don't. There's no real industry there. Where there's no state income tax, so we subsist from hustle to hustle. Which means that when new people come in, it's a transient population, a tourism economy. You come into town, we're all in on it. We got to grab you by the ankles, turn you upside down, and shake all the money out of your pockets and send you on your way.
No
Spring
good-
break forever.
No good grifters. Just a bunch
right.
of fucking no good
Now, do they like
palm
you?
trees fucking grifters.
Do they like you in Florida? Are you because on
Oh, I
one
don't
end
think so.
you could be a Florida legend in the sense that you tell all these great Florida stories, but on the other end, if you just watch the Billy Corben collection, Florida looks, I mean, as horrible as any place could ever look.
What is the flavor Floridians have for you?
Great
Guy who wants to
phraseology.
sound smart. Thanks.
God, I love when
say-
you ask such rich questions.
I would say an extra sour key lime pie. Slightly sour on the
Love it.
sour
They're a little
side.
So they don't
But
love you.
There's the balance between sweet and sour in a key lime pie. This
Right.
might strain more. No, listen, I'm a Florida native and a lifelong
What part of
Miamian.
Florida? Oh, Miami.
I was born in Fort Myers. Lies that came true. A swamp that turned into suburbia.
Western Florida. That's right on by the Gulf.
It's a
Gator country.
We do have industry there though. We make meth in Walmart bathrooms. So that's in that on the West Coast. of
Well,
Florida, but-
I hate to break it to you, meth is out and opiates are in. So, thank you, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, the heroin,
Innovators.
Virginia. Is it a weird? Has anyone from Florida approached you like, hey, can you do a fucking cool can you make us look good?
Yeah.
Listen,
Hey, Billy Corben, could you do fucking? I don't know. We have decent state schools.
I would argue that all I would argue that all of our movies are twisted love letters to our hometown.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that Cooking Cowboys did more for tourism than almost anything over the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
People see that movie for whatever reason and say, I got to go there.
They want to go on the cocaine tour.
Yeah, so people do come in all the time and say, like, I'm here because people come to the University of Miami, they say, because they saw the U documentaries. I'm like, what
Do
an
you think people are going to start
irresponsible
going
way.
to Dr. Tony
Listen,
because they saw Screwball?
that's what happened with Manny Ramirez. I mean, he gets busted,
Yeah.
and that publicity, that word of mouth, attracted business to Tony. So, and I'll tell you, when he was in prison, this was an epilogue scene we ran out of time and money to produce, but when he was in prison, he was in a minimum security in camp in Alabama, and he was teaching his fellow prisoners nutrition. And he was inside with Jeff Skilling of Enron, who was teaching a course on business.
Yes.
And then their fellow inmate was Jesse Jackson Jr., who was teaching a civics and political science course.
down
to
with
their fellow
I'm down with all
inmates.
three of those.
Yeah.
I'll take classes from all three of them. I want a tan doctor, a guy that knew how to break the system. I'm way on board with
Wait,
all
how
this.
long is the guy Skillman from Enron? How long ago was that?
This was just a few years ago. He was just released, I think.
How much time did he
recently?
do?
Not enough.
It seems like Enron was a long time ago.
Dude,
Did he do
they-
10 years?
Yeah, he did a while. He did a
Sometimes they have they'll have dudes visit the set of Billions that are like in that world or whatever. And this guy was like shaking everyone's hand, and I was like, I met him, and he just looked like an old rich white dude to me. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you, man. And he walked away, and someone goes, that's the guy that shorted Enron.
Is that Ivan Boesky and
Wow.
Michael Milken? Oh, wow.
And you're like, oh, so that guy made a lot of money. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, no, he made like,
All the
Was
money.
he a criminal or no?
no.
Oh, okay.
But he shorted Enron when Enron was fucking juicing that. He saw all the bullshit and was smart enough to fucking short him. But
like
the
Christian Bale in The Big Short.
Yes.
yeah, but he's just like he had that. I have so much energy. I have so much money. I don't have to talk to anyone. Energy. Like he was just like, yeah, who are you? Get the fuck out of my way. And
Was
I
he
was like,
pleasant?
no. He didn't have to be. The guy's like a fucking billionaire. But he was like, yeah, I don't know. And someone told me that I'm such an idiot that I'm like, hello, sir. And then like, that guy shorted Enron. I'm like, what the fuck?
And I wouldn't know what that meant, but it just sounds cool to know that somebody shorted Enron. You're like, oh, that's impressive.
Jim, I don't even know what that means.
I
And
know.
I'm saying it on a radio show. If someone repeated to me in like a fucking parrot, I'm just squawking it
You know,
out
you're
on
not
the
walking
radio.
in here like you fucking just stepped off a Wall Street
There you
dirty
go.
shorted Enron.
I
I'll
go,
explain it in
and
the
I'll
car.
tell you this: the Dow. Wow, it's in
Dude,
peril.
you should do a documentary about me.
Terrible.
I get that a lot.
I'm
sure I get that a lot.
Do you really get that a lot?
Oh, I do, especially when you live in Miami and you do something like Cocaine Cowboys. You get like, bro, I love that movie, bro, but like, you gotta interview my cousin, bro, because he knew all that shit, bro. You gotta
love
talk
that.
to my, like, bro.
Movie's done.
That's the equivalent.
Like,
that's
yeah,
the
I know.
equivalent.
It's
Of,
done.
that's
I
the
know.
equivalent of someone walking up to a comic being like, "My buddy's so funny. You gotta see my buddy.
Yeah.
He's so funny." And you're like, get the fuck out of my face.
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.